So in this segment, we're going to be talking about. Sorry, the washing machine's going off there. I can't do much about that. So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK suffering post-Brexit reputational damage due to Dover chaos, say business chiefs, and it's not just the P&O ferries that are the main cause of the issue. It's also the IT systems as well that are causing problems. And I think as freight picks up, I think we might see more IT issues. I'm not sure about the what's caused the issue with GVMS, so we'll have to wait and see actually if it manages to. So recurring traffic gridlock at Dover is damaging the reputation of the UK overseas, as well as to the economy, business and logistics chiefs have said. Several days of chaos at the port have been blamed on the suspension of sailings by P&O ferries, but the failure of the Brexit IT system and the burden of new customs checks, they're not new. I mean they've been going for a year. Have also added to the hold-ups, and that's kind of the way I'd frame it, apart from the new customs checks bit. Again, apologies for the washing machine, can't do much about it. Food producers have warned perishable goods were going bad and losing their value, with some saying delays were costing their business up to £800 per lorry. And if you're one of those people who make money via volume rather than just one or two products, that's a huge loss. That in term for some of these people, they might make a loss on these lorries, which would draw into question, is it worth it for them to keep exporting to the EU because of all the problems we're having in terms of IT systems and amongst other things. Here's Rod McKenzie said, we cannot keep seeing this. Head of the policy at the Road Haulage Association, it's expensive and damaging for the economy and reputation of the UK. It's time to take decisive action and deal with the long-term problem, but without things like alignment deals, I'm not sure how they can deal with the problems, because the port of Dover is small and there isn't a lot of space for expansion. The Calais port is a lot bigger. Shane Brennan, chief executive of the Cold Chain Federation, said Britain had developed a post-Brexit perception problem. I'm not sure what he specifically means by that. Maybe it's the way we perceive ourselves. That definitely is an issue for us. It's purely because we think, with blind optimism we can solve anything, which simply is not the case. He told the Financial Times, Brennan, businesses that we want to do business with are increasingly seeing us as too much hassle to deal with. That has to change if we are to recover lost ground. And, if you're a business, right, importing British goods from Britain, from GB, right, you got to think to yourself, wherever you're importing, right, say you're importing, a car part, right, a bonnet, for example, and you can't get your car bonnets through the queue and you rely on just-in-time manufacturing, you're going to look for an alternative supplier. You're going to look at setting up a manufacturing hub in the EU, purely because it's too much hassle. With all the paperwork and the additional costs, it's not worth it, especially for small exporters as well. If you're exporting niche goods from the UK, I don't know what kind of niche foods we sell, I don't know, say something like black pudding, for example, right? If you're exporting something like black pudding to the EU for whatever reason, okay, if your black pudding faced massive delays and checks at the border and for whatever reason it can't get through, the importer in the EU is going to think it's not worth my time. Maybe I'll look for an alternative supply, or maybe I'll just stop buying this thing. I'll look for something else, because at the end of the day, like if you struggle to get your goods to the shops or whatever, it's not worth your time. Really, it's going to be a lot of money and a lot of hassle, especially when you think £800 per lorry is just insane. Nick Allen, chief executive of the British Meat Processors Association, said his industry could lose customers if the delays in traffic and clearing checks continued. And again, a lot of the people buying this would be maybe butchers in the EU, for example. And if these butchers are just sat around waiting for the meat to come in, they're going to look at other countries. There are so many other good agricultural countries in the EU, such as Denmark being one of them, that they'll say, oh look, we're just going to go to a local farm or a farm in the EU, which geographically may be further away than Great Britain, but in terms of the trade barriers, there's none. So it's much easier to get the goods in. Maybe France will say, okay, maybe we'll, import beef from, say, Poland, for example, which geographically is further away. But because there's no trade barriers, it's far easier for the lorry drivers to get to and from the two countries. Poland being a random example, just because I think it's the furthest EU country away from France. Hauliers are reporting they're struggling to get drivers willing to go to the UK if they are going to get delays getting home again. With the international shortage of drivers, they're able to be selective with what jobs they take. And, that's one of the good things about having a shortage in an industry where, if they say, oh, we've got a job for you to go to Britain, we're going to give you this amount, you say, no, I want more. And if the company say, oh, we can't pay you more, it's like, cool, I'm not going to take that job, I'll go somewhere else. I'll go to Germany then. I'll drive from France to Germany then, because going to Britain, you're going to be stuck there for hours. You got 25-hour queues on certain days, and if you're paid by the mile, it's simply not viable for you to do this, because you're gonna be sat in the queue for ages. If you're being paid by the hour, it's slightly better, but being stuck in a queue is just ridiculous, especially when you look at the conditions that these people are being kept in, which is, as Dutch as reports on Dutch news, Dutch truckers stuck for 27 hours in Kent. It won't be just the Dutch ones, obviously it'll be the French ones, the German ones, the Polish ones, the Nordic ones, whatever you want to say. They'll all be stuck in the same queue, right? They can't eat, drink, because there's no food there. I think more recently, I don't know if it's the government or the poor or somebody has been giving them food, but they must urinate and defecate in their cabins, where that's where they live, that's where their bed is, and a lot of them wouldn't even have toilet facilities. So what the hell are they supposed to do? Like pee in a bag? There's a reason why that MP, he stood in human waste in a lay-by when they stopped off in Kent. The MP, I can't remember his name, so it chairs one of the committees. There's a reason why that happened. And that's because there's no toilet facilities there. They're meant to set up portaloos and things like that, but these drivers are being told to stay in their cabins. A small confined space for hours on end. It's not healthy. It's not good for anyone. They get yelled at if they leave their cabins. What do you want them to do? They can't even go for a walk. This is just ridiculous, honestly. Police drive by shining lights in their cabins to make sure you're behind the wheel. Like, what if they're having a nap or whatever? Right, because they're going to be told they're going to be stuck for ages. Maybe they shouldn't be sleeping because they've got to move the queue along, but if you've got some idiot shining a light in your eyes constantly, that's going to really tick you off, and you're not going to want to come back here. The UK is going to face a reputational problem. A lot of these drivers may say, I'm not going to the UK, and I don't blame them. Absolutely, I would not blame them. This is Brexit Britain at the end of the day. And as Dr. Anna Jo Ozeska points out, this needs to stop. Dover queues keep making headlines every few months, yet not much changes, because the Tories don't really care that much. A lot of these drivers would be foreign, and until the people in Kent kick up a stink about it, nothing's going to change. And she says these aren't acceptable working conditions, which is absolutely true. They're not acceptable working conditions. They're ridiculous. You can't expect someone to work like this. You can't. I don't know if it's a human rights violation or what, but this is just ludicrous. And I hope that kind of other EU member states are saying, like, bro, you guys need to do something here, because our drivers will not go back to your country. Good luck with that. Good luck when that happens. Something needs to change here. She goes, in all honesty, I would imagine Dover queues don't take up that much time during these meetings because they don't care. Toilet facilities, all of these things are so important. For these drivers, they're treated better in European countries. There are more areas for them to stop off and eat, for example. It just beggars belief that we treat people like this. Honestly, it's just madness. Sorry about that. It just makes me very angry at the situation. Several issues have converged, going back to the article, have converged to cause a perfect storm at Dover. You've got the P&O sacking 800 workers. You've got the IT issues as well, the GVMS system. That's a key problem. HMRC said issues with its GVMS system for customs declarations needed by hauliers, so drivers lack scannable barcodes needed for rapid check of lorries for several days. And you got to think, any minutes they add to each lorry is multiplied by the thousands of lorries that go through Dover. Richard Ballantyne, the head of the British Port Association, said P&O ferry suspension has been the main cause of the traffic congestion, but conceded it was partly down to Brexit scenarios as well. I'm guessing partly down to Brexit, which he doesn't really want to admit for some strange reason. Maybe the ports don't want to admit there are Brexit problems because they don't want to make the government look stupid, and so reducing the funds from the government. It comes as new data from HMRC show that the number of UK firms exporting to the UK fell by 33% during 2021, which is something we'll talk more about in a separate article. I've got that from City AM. There's nothing more I want to talk about in this article, but you can see the state of play, which is 25-hour queues. This probably won't happen again for a while until the summer when traffic really ramps up, just like that washing machine is. But the simple fact is that with these queues happening, with the shortage of global lorry drivers, you got to think to yourself, a lot less of them are going to come here, which means less stuff coming into the UK, which creates scarcity. In the UK, it's also going to affect our exports a lot, but some of these lorries go empty so they can avoid all the paperwork hassles leaving Great Britain, so some of this stuff won't even help exporters. really. But the simple fact is, it's just ludicrous. And yes, it's going to have reputational damage. Drivers are less likely to come here, or they're going to ask more money, which means that UK consumers are going to have to pay more because that cost will get passed on to the consumer, which I just don't know what more to say about this. Because even if you want to use the argument, oh, we'll just train British drivers, do you think British drivers want to be stuck in long queues like this? Really? What makes you think they are? Because what, the Blitz spirit or something? I don't know. But this kind of story is frustrating because you can't treat people like this, man. You really can't. Like police shining people's eyes like, I'd probably swear at one of them. I'll probably, after 12 hours of this, yeah, sure, they can read a book or watch, a movie or something like that, but you can't do that for that many hours. You can't be stuck indoors. These cabins are really small. You can't be stuck inside for that long, honestly. But, anyways, you can see how small the entry is towards the port of Dover anyways. There's only a couple of lanes there. Half of these are closed off. It's just ludicrous. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.